Early morning and I got here.
Okay, it's live on YouTube now.
Nice,
I've
perfect.
seen yeah.
We can get
Anyway, yeah,
started.
you were saying, yeah, we can.
So, hi everyone. It's Africa Tea Week Day 3 and welcome. So, today, for our tea break, we have someone very interesting who I'm sure we're going to have such a fun conversation. And before we start, I want to tell you a fun fact about me and our guest today, who is Eva. So, Eva, we got to know about each other through a mutual friend, I think
Yeah.
3 months ago. And we have always been saying, we need to meet, we should meet, we need to meet. And we
Yeah.
have never met. So, finally, we are meeting on Zoom.
Virtually. Yeah.
Quite interesting. I'm really happy to have you here, Eva. Eva is
I'm happy to be
that
here.
one person. Sorry?
I'm
Yeah,
happy to
exactly.
be here as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Eva is one person who makes me feel that for sure. I don't think I even love tea. She loves tea. Her social media is tea, and she talks like she has even this cute tea station. I don't know if I've ever commented to you, Eva, but you post your tea station, and I'm just like, okay, this one is the tea connoisseur goal. I really admire that and I dig that. So it's such a passion to
Thank
have
you.
such a pleasure to have you on our tea break today because I know this is going to be such a fun tea conversation. And before we
No
continue, I'm going
pressure.
to introduce yourself.
Okay. So, hi guys. My name is Eva. I run Tea Trap. I've been 21 years old for just over 5 years, so it doesn't matter anymore, my age. And I'm a tea enthusiast. So I love everything about tea. And I started making content about it in like 2017. Um, and it's just a wild space to the point at which I am here now. So yeah.
Oh, that's 2017. We are in 2021. That has been such a journey. What made you love tea? Like, how did you become so passionate about tea?
So I think I've always just grown up around it. I am I am of Luya descent, so in Kenya, that's a tribe that is just known to love tea. We have tea after every meal, typically, not every household, but typically you'd have it after every meal. When you go to someone's place, the first thing they offer is tea. So tea was just always that thing that's been there. Um, it's almost to the point where I didn't realize how passionate I am about it until I started creating content on it. And how that came to be was because I work normal mainstream 9 to 5, um, and I had a bad day at a particular time. So when I got home, my normal ritual was to always make myself a cup of tea, and I just paused and just thought, oh my God, this stuff always makes me feel so much better. It doesn't matter what kind of day or situation I've had. I drink tea and I just feel good. And then I got curious at that point. I was like, okay, what is it about tea? And when I started, actively seeking knowledge on tea, that's when the passion sort of grew from there. It's almost as if I loved what I found, and then just couldn't stop sharing from that point on. Yeah.
That is such an interesting story because, for me, okay, first of all, this is such a coincidence. I swear this was not planned. Yesterday, I had a tea talk conversation with Jennifer. She's also Luya. So definitely, this is a confirmation of the fact that yes, and one side. So,
Yeah.
um, for me, I've grown up in a tea farm, and
Oh,
but
okay,
I've
that's cool.
never really had that passion or desire to know about tea. And to me, tea has always been the black city. So it's until last year that I got to start learning about the different teas, the yellow tea, the white
Okay.
tea, and all those things. And I was like, hey, so there's so much to tea. This is so
There's a
fascinating.
lot of there's a lot of variety within the tea space. It's just people don't know about it. And I think the way tea is marketed is not as robust as, something that we like to compare like for like is coffee. With coffee, the way it's been marketed, and which is why I think I use Tea Trap in the angle that I use it. You can see yourself going on that coffee date. You can see yourself as the gentleman dropping sweet nothings in a girl's ear at a cafe, or you can see yourself as the lady receiving sweet nothings from a mango at a cafe. You can see yourself in this stylish outfits, walking in, going to grab your morning coffee before you go into the office. They've personified it into a way that it's within the ordinary masses. Whereas with tea, when I started making content about it and found that there's actually many more people creating content on tea, it's always this Zen thing. You must be in a certain mood. You must be meditative. And that's not the reality for every ordinary person. You have life going on. So what I do on Tea Trap is just try to show an ordinary human being who incorporates tea throughout like their day. And it's like part of your normal daily life, and you don't have to be a certain way to embrace it and enjoy it and things like that. So yeah, it's normal to just have thought of it, in the CTC, especially in our sides of the world. We just have it in tea bags, or we have the CTC and throw it in milk, and that's it. When you show someone an orthodox tea, it's like, what is this? Why are you drinking leaves? Or, things like that. It's not something that people practice preparing in their houses. When you have a guest, you're not likely to, lay out your different orthodox teas and do it for them step by step slowly. And when you see it being done, it's always in this very spiritual Zen culture that you can't imagine, your mom coming for a chama meeting is going to sit down and start making everyone this orthodox type of tea. So it's normal that you wouldn't have grown passionate or interested before, because that's not how we saw it. So yeah.
Interesting. And if I may ask, have you actually experienced that Zen moment with tea or Zen culture? Have you experienced that?
I haven't been to like, I guess, a traditional tea house, where you'd sit down and there'd be the trays and they have all these, because I usually see when it comes to the materials they use, they pour the water over certain elements and things like that. I haven't experienced that. That's not something that I've seen even in our own country. But in terms of Zen with self, I think sometimes, which is why for me, it almost doesn't matter. It doesn't entirely matter how it's served, because I can be alone in my room with this cup of tea and I'm having a meditative moment, and that's enough. I don't need it to be, we're in a rainforest and there's a waterfall at the back, and, it would be great. Yeah. But that's not the reality for everyone. So that shouldn't stop me from still enjoying those aspects or sides of tea.
Eva, your talks and answers are so interesting. I'm really enjoying listening to you. And maybe right now you can tell us about your tea collection. I don't know if you maybe traveled to a country and experienced their tea, maybe tea in Europe or something. Just tell us about your tea collection.
Actually, I wouldn't say, okay, so I don't think I'm well traveled per se, physically, at least for sure. I'm not well traveled. I've been to some places, but not enough. And furthermore, to the sense of, getting to try teas from all over the place, I've been so blessed and fortunate to instead have lots of friends sprinkled all over the world. And when they do come around or when we meet, they share their teas with me, which then gives me a taste of South Africa when someone, for example, gives me a rooibos. Or in America, like recently, I received a whole load of teas from some friends, and they play around with flavors a lot, and that's something that we don't do here in terms of value addition. So I got to experience what flavored tea means from that side of the world. In Europe, like UK, Putnam and Mason, and there's a bunch of other shops that I have some lovely friends who have, given me tea from that side of the world. So I wouldn't say that I'm like well traveled, but I've been fortunate enough to experience teas through my connections and my friends. So, are we hanging? I think we're hanging. My side has hung.
No, it hasn't, Eva. We can hear you.
Oh. Hi, Anne. Hi, Anne. Jadi mother peanut butter.
Excuse me, please. Don't embarrass me.
I think actually the host has dropped. I think has dropped. Yeah.
Okay. You're doing well, girl.
Am I? Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think
Helen has dropped, right? Awkward. So how have you guys been as we wait for Helen?
And I think it's the internet.
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah, we've been good.
You're
Hear me?
I'm dressed. Joy Anami is asking if I am dressed, Joy. What do you mean? I'm very dressed. First of all, I don't know, my camera, my video on this side looks like it's just weird lines. I hope I'm dressed in case we need a top. Have I just been showing you guys my collarbone this whole time? Nobody told me.
Yes, you have. They're beautiful.
For real? Oh my God. And that was not the intention. Oh my goodness. Oops. And then can you guys see like lines across my screen, or is it just from my end? Because I'm not understanding. Oh wow.
Eva, you do know this session is being recorded.
Oh God. Yeah, this is the thing. I forget.
Okay, no problem, Eva. Everything is okay.
Okay.
Everything
Thank you,
is
Michael.
Okay, there's no problem on this end.
Okay.
And Ellen is trying to join back. Okay. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, nice conversation so far, and yeah, it's really exciting to meet you. I should continue. I don't know if you can hear me clearly. That's the only issue I have on my end.
I think you just have a lot of background noise from your end. Okay, say something again.
Sorry, I don't internet is acting up today, but just give us 2 minutes. I believe Ellen would join. We should be able to join. Yeah, please.
All right.
Yeah, she's here already, which is awesome.
Is she?
So those on the call as well, those in the meeting, questions, you can drop it in the chat section.
I did. Pamela is asking if I enjoyed Rooibos. I did.
So guys, I don't know.
Oh.
I just got kicked out. I'm so sorry about that. I'm back.
Okay. While you were away, I discovered I've been showing collarbone only. I just wanted to confirm I'm dressed. And yeah, that's it. So you can carry on now.
Oh wow! Oh, you were talking about the teas that you've experienced in different places. I don't
Yes,
know if you had finished your
yeah.
thoughts.
Yes, I did. I did. Just
Okay,
basically said
so
that my I've been lucky to have friends
friend,
sprinkled all over, and they so
uh,
graciously send me teas. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
you must be so lucky. The next thing that I was going to ask is, of these teas, which one is your favorite and why?
Oh God. There's so many. Like every tea has its own gig. You know what I mean? But I would
Uh-huh.
say whenever I do, the one tea that when I come across it, I always want to give it a try is Earl Grey tea. Um, so I don't know what it is. I think the first time I ever had it, it it just felt so distinct because the base is black tea, which we are all very used to, and then they've infused it with bergamot oil, which just changes the whole taste profile of the tea. Now, when you come across like an herbal tea, you expect it to taste, if it's berries, of berries, if it's a floral tea, to have a certain scent and things like that. But Earl Grey was unlike anything I ever thought I'd experienced. And then to have it, have that black tea base, for me was even more exciting because I love black tea, um, as a, just as a standard. So the tea that I always love to explore, or get as many experiences of, is Earl Grey tea, because it's also very bold and very robust. You can't miss the flavor or the scent of it. I have experienced lighter Earl Greys, like actually quite recently, and that was surprising to me because I'm very used to it being a very loud tea. But yeah, I would say that that's the one tea that my eye always, when I see it, I have to just reach for it.
I've actually never heard of that. Is there any factory in Kenya that produces that?
I'm not sure. Actually, on the side of production, that's one area I need to build my knowledge, because I understand that we export a lot of our tea, and it's only when it goes out there that the value addition happens. So whether it's going to become flavored, or it's going to be whatever they're going to do with it. Sometimes in some markets, they use a bit of Kenyan tea to blend other teas and make something like a breakfast blend or an English breakfast, or whatever the case is. So it's not that, if you see an English breakfast tea, for example, it doesn't mean that it's all Kenyan tea. It could be Kenyan tea with an Assam tea from Indian, mixed with something else from, I don't know, Nepal or whatever, and then they make a blend from it. So it's very hard to find distinctions of it. So I can't be sure that any of our factories actually do that. And I'm not very knowledgeable on the production side of tea within Kenya and even outside of. So that's an area that I'd definitely be looking to work on.
I've actually learned something today, because in my mind, okay, I know that the tea gets exported, but then all these teas that you're mentioning are teas, I'm like, okay, I've not heard of that. And so tell us, what's your favorite way of brewing your tea? And as you tell us that, tell us about your brewing station, how it came to be and all that.
Okay. So my tea station, my tea console, um, when I got this room, so for the longest time, I've always, from childhood, I've always shared a room with somebody, whether it was cousins or my sister or whatever the case. And when my parents have now, um, they're heading to retirement, and
Just a
they're trying
moment,
to
as
get
you
out of.
respond, I'm trying to plug
Mhm.
in my charger, but I'm listening to you.
Okay, this is just all making me laugh. But anyway, so um, when as my parents are like preparing to move away from the city, I found myself having my own room for the first time, or like my own space. And one of the things that I just needed to have was a tea station because of the number of trips I would make to the kitchen in between work, especially in the past year when work from home became a thing. So my tea station just has, of course, a chest of teas for my tea bags, because I do drink a lot of tea, even if it's frowned upon. And then I do have a few orthodox teas, so I have drawers for that. And then I have a snack drawer because I'm a sweet tooth. So when I'm having my tea, and because I tend not to sweeten, actually that's a lie because I use honey on my tea. But in the event that I'm not using honey, I like to have it with like a biscuit or, chocolate, whatever it is. So I have a sweet section. And then a flask, obviously, to always just have water ready. What I'd ideally like to have is actually like an electric kettle just placed at the tea console, because with the flask I have to always use the kitchen, but that's not a problem. Anyway, when it comes to brewing, pretty standard. So I first warm my vessel, which is basically your cup, wherever you're going to drink from. I warm it with the water that I'm going to use. So you pour a bit in there, swirl until your vessel is like the same temperature as the water. And the only reason you do that is just so that when you do put in your tea, you want to brew it at the correct temperature. And if you don't warm up your vessel, it means your temperature is going to drop and your tea won't brew correctly. You might have to spend a longer time with the tea leaves in there. Depending on the type of tea that you're brewing, you could release tannins, which you don't want because it makes it more bitter, and you could increase the astringency of it. So you don't want certain elements to be brought out based on horrible brewing. I always prefer to have fresh water. So don't boil and reboil water. That's why I have a flask instead of warming water, taking 1 cup from the kettle, and then when I go back, warming that same water again. Because if you don't keep refreshing your water, it's like you're making tea with stale water, like dispenser water. So all the oxygen is being released with each time you boil, and that makes your tea flat. So yeah, once I've warmed my vessel, I've got my tea in there, pour over it. Depending on the brewing time, I tend not to follow the instructions on packs. So some will tell you 2 minutes, 3 minutes, even up to 7, depending on the type of tea. But I believe that tea can have multiple washes. So with 1 tea bag, for example, you could brew it. Well, with tea bags, it's a bit tricky. With orthodox tea, for sure, with 1 serving, maybe you can do 2 or 3, or even up to 4 in some cases, depending on the quality of the tea. You can do 4 washes. But with tea bags, like 1 or 2, max of the steepings, and then throw it out.
So wait, I'm really taking in all what you're saying. First of all, I've never thought in my head to warm the vessel that I'm supposed to be taking the tea with. So that is an interesting thing that I've learned. And also having a flask. Okay. Interesting hack right there. So how many cups of tea do you take in a day?
Well, okay, so like with this mug, for example, a minimum of 9. It's quite a lot. Don't do that. It's only because, so look at me, I'm even getting defensive. It's only because like I'm home all day since I'm working from home, and like what do you do in between? You know what I mean? So I don't know. It just happens. Yeah, it just happens. So, but it not well. Yeah, 9 minimum.
That's actually a big mug. So I must say you are you are on your own level. Wow. Okay. So I think that's the main questions that I had, and I want us to go to the game section. But before we do that, okay, I'm going to give us a moment for the people on the call if they could be having a question for you.
Actually, I'm just like looking at the chat.
At the chat.
Oh, okay.
You
Nia,
take
I
any
think,
other
asked the question
beverages
that you.
besides tea?
I
Oh,
do.
what
I
else do you
do.
take? And
If you go on my Instagram on a Friday night, you'll see that I do. Drink a
oh,
lot of
when do you take?
wine. Um, I drink a lot of wine.
Uh-huh.
And ciders. Ciders have also been something that I enjoy exploring. So every time I see a new cider in the market, I'll pick it up and just see. I was saying like a week or two ago on my Instagram that I need to actually start reading up on. I feel like I need to start reading up on wines the same way I do with tea because I drink a lot of it. And when I go shopping for it, I try and look for the most aged. I don't know why. In my idea, it's
Mhm,
the best quality, or maybe to bring out something else.
mhm, mhm.
So I feel like I should. That's also another area I should try and like be more knowledgeable on. So a lot of wine, a lot of ciders. What else do I drink? I don't like soda and stuff. Yeah. Juice maybe if it's fresh, but not so much. But yeah, wine and ciders. That's my thing.
Red or white wine? So,
Oh,
as it
I don't think I have a. I
preference.
used to think that I have a preference, but I don't think I do. Just because it also depends. A lot of the times, if I'm having my wine, I'm thinking about pairing it with food.
Oh,
So if you're going to have a red meat, have it. If you're having like chicken or I don't know pasta, something light, pick up a white. So really, red, white doesn't matter. I'll have all.
so fancy. Okay, there's so many questions on the chat. There's a question on whether you enjoyed the rooibos tea. Rooibos tea. I don't even know
Yeah,
how that sounds. Did you?
rooibos. Rooibos. I think that's how they say it. I
Rooibos.
know it has double. Also,
Uh,
you're inclined to say roux, but I think it's rooibos. It's very nice. I believe it's only found in South Africa, the plant itself. So if you want authentic rooibos tea, it's only sourced from SA. It's very earthy, very rich, and quite astringent. I think the first times I ever had it, although from what I've learned about teas, and then again, this depends on how you're brewing it. You shouldn't get certain levels of astringency depending on how well you brew it or not. So if you left the tea in for too long, for example, you pull out elements that you don't want. So yeah, very strong, very earthy. Pair it with a good steak. Yeah, it's one of those. It's really good.
okay.
And
And what is
I must say that I like having it with honey. Yeah.
interesting? Okay. How about what would you like to see from Kenyan tea brands? Because it seems like it's taken so much of important tea. So this is an interesting question.
But I have also taken a lot of Kenyan teas. I think there was a time when I used to be so keen on seeing value addition coming from within. So our generation now, our generation now, and even the ones coming up, the Gen Zs and them, they love flavor. So even though, and the most accessible types of tea, in terms from a cost perspective, is tea bag tea, even if it's frowned upon the most. But we don't have a lot of that, originating from Kenya. A lot of times, as I said, we've imported our tea. Someone has gone and done all these things and then sold it back to us. I've been loving seeing the likes of Drink Tea and Company, the likes of Stir Me Tea, who actually take our own tea, infuse it with whichever flavors they want, and still maintain that orthodox element of it. So, you're having the tea remain, with the highest integrity of itself in terms of flavor. Like Stir Me, for example, I really enjoy that brand of tea in terms of how the way they blend their teas. It's quite good, and they've managed to do it in, I guess, a bit of a large scale situation, point where you can pick it up on shelf. Because if you go to our supermarkets, what you'll find is more of the CTC, not orthodox tea, but STAMI has found their way into our supermarkets and onto the shelves. So that's really commendable. And I think getting more and more people exploring orthodox tea, which is, the highest quality, and then finding ways to bring in all these value addition elements. I think I'd love to see that for our country, because I think it would encourage more and more people to take up the beverage. When I think again of coffee, you have people doing, oh God, to be honest, I don't drink coffee, so I'm struggling to even think of the different, like mochas, I don't know. So when you go into a restaurant, it's served for you, they've got this, the milk on top or the foam, and they do heart shapes or bears or whatever. When you go into a restaurant here in Kenya, most of the time they'll bring you your water and they'll bring a tea bag on the side. And it's just, there's no excitement. And that's what our generation wants. If they're giving you a flavored tea, it's like just a tea bag. We don't have like the blossom tea, where you put a whole flower in the water and it unfurls and, that kind of stuff. You don't see a lot of that here. So seeing value addition happen in the country, that would be great.
So essentially, value addition, add flavor, and diversify from just basic black CTC. I agree with
but
you.
I think they have come a long way. In some ways, the industry has come a long way, but obviously there's always can still do more. Yeah.
Okay. Neon had asked if you have a favorite type of tea. I think you've answered that. And then Julie asked, what are your thoughts on people who add sugar to their tea? Interesting question.
So the only place for processed sugar is in baked goods, because, and it's almost, I say that, which is a bit, I don't know, say pretentious, because I sweeten my tea, but I use honey instead. And then that makes me feel like I'm better than people who use sugar. But the thing is, whichever way you look at it, it's about masking, right? My problem with processed sugar is that, and especially like when people use too much of it, you barely have the taste of the tea anymore. So with whatever additions that I'm making to my tea, for me, it's very important that the integral bit, the actual tea, the flavor of it still comes through. And even speaking on that, when it comes to flavored teas, if you're going to make, say, a rose tea, right? And the base of it might be a black tea, I still expect to taste that black tea, even if like the aroma is going to have rose, because then that's a good blend. You have a balance of your actual parent, which is the tea, and then everything else just to enhance it and enhance the experience. So when it comes to sugar or honey or whatever it is that you use to sweeten your tea, I'm not like, don't go pouring in tons, even as I say that I use honey, like 1 teaspoon or 2 teaspoons max in a single mug of it, because I still want to, I don't want to have so much sweet that I'm taking away from what are the notes coming in from the tea as well. So it's a balance, but honey trumps sugar, please note.
Okay, so a balance. And as you said, sugar is for baking. Interesting. You're having black tea and have to choose one. Is it going to be honey or lemon?
Ooh. For me, I do love lemon. I love lemon. And maybe it's a season situation, but at the moment I'm obsessed with with lemon. I always actually have it on my tea console. I have a bowl where I just slice up. So every time I'm having tea, I drop in a wedge of lemon in it. I don't know. I just really love lemon.
So honey is going.
Yeah, honey will go. It's fine.
Okay. Tell us about that time you made tea for 7 hours. There's a time you made tea for 7 hours.
So one thing I love about my tea trap community, every time someone sees something interesting about tea, they'll send me a message. So my cousin sent me a video of this tea called kuridashi tea. It's of Japanese origin, and it's basically a cold brew. Now, when you hear about cold brews, I think there was a time when I used to search them up. Some people would brew tea normally, like, in hot water, and then put ice cubes and then serve that as a cold brew. But the way that you should ideally do it, excuse me, is to actually, and this time I used loose leaf orthodox tea. So you get your ice cubes or whatever, your ice, put it in whichever vessel you want to put it, throw in your tea, and then as the ice melts, your tea is going to brew. That's the idea. So you're having a cold brew. You're extracting from the tea from cold water. So this time when I did it, I just, prepared some ice cubes, put them in a bowl, I used Stemmy tea, I think it was their mango mania tea, and extracted, brewed this tea of theirs, and it took like 7 hours because, that's how long the ice took to melt. And I think I must have forgotten it for 1 hour, so maybe it could have been 6. Whatever the case, it was really, really, really nice, surprisingly. I didn't expect it. And it brewed stronger, which obviously makes sense because the tea has been in there longer. It's just not expected because of how cold the water is, but it actually was surprisingly good, and I would definitely do it again on a hot day. I would definitely add whiskey to it just to give it a kick. If you want to make a cocktail. I haven't made any tea cocktails, but I think that would be a really good combination. So yeah, it's quite interesting.
You make tea sound so good, which I'm all
It
here
is.
for. It's so good. I'm all here for that. And there's a question on when do you have your first and last cup for the day?
So my first cup, with my current routine, my first cup actually goes with my breakfast, and then my last is while I'm sitting in bed. So I don't really know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the long and short of it. It's when I have breakfast, and my breakfast usually comes. So at the moment I have this, I'm fortunate enough to have time to work out. After I drop my niece off at school, I come back, work out, shower, and then shower and moisturize. For those who follow on Instagram, you know this. Shower and moisturize, and then I'll have my tea with my breakfast. So yeah.
Yeah, I love the way you call it self-adoration.
Yeah.
I find myself saying that whenever I want to work out, I'm like,
Oh,
time
really?
for self-adoration.
Let me go love myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go love yourself.
As we wind up on the questions, there's the question on whether you like sweet or not. So essentially, sweet or dry wine. You had said you do not explode wine that much.
I think dry.
Dry.
Earlier when I had just started, I think when I just started drinking, sweet was the natural one to gravitate towards because it's more palatable. But I think, have I lost you? Oh, I thought, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So when I first started drinking, sweet was, easier to gravitate towards because it's more palatable. But I think when your palate matures, so to speak, you can start stomaching a bit of the dry stuff. And then when you especially bring in, accompanying it with food and things like that, you realize that it's actually a bit better. So yeah, I enjoy dry now. Yeah, I don't mind the dry wine.
It's interesting that you say you've not explored wine, but your palate has matured. Interesting. So, anyway, one last question and we're done with this segment. Julie asks, when are we getting the next tea review on IG? Hashtag pressure.
So there's a bunch. So the teas I told you that I received recently, my intention, every intention was to review each of them. I've drunk one case already, and all of it. So it's a bit hectic, but there's a vlog coming up on my YouTube channel, because I also have a YouTube channel. So content everywhere. When I get new tea, gosh, because also something that I try not to do, I'm a bit of a minimalist. I don't know whether it was intentional or it has just become a thing that I am. So I try not to stack, because it's very easy to buy a lot of teas and not finish them, because it can take a while, especially with orthodox teas, to get through a single pack. So I try not to overbulk my tea station, although I have like companies that, are in my radar that I'm thinking, oh, when they get their stuff out, I can't wait to try. So I'll seek it out. So when I do get something fresh, we'll have another tea review on IGTV.
We'll be waiting for that.
Okay.
We're done with the questions. Now time for the final, but I think most fun segment.
Okay.
Let me tell you just now what it is. I'm sharing my screen with you.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Spill the tea. Yeah, I can.
Time to spill the tea. So quick fire questions. You already answered this. So there was a
Lemon,
question to that. So these are that, lemon in tea or milk in tea. I know
lemon.
We all know the answer by now. Hot tea or iced tea? Hot.
Hot. Yeah.
Okay. Which one has to go? You had answered for lemons and honey. Now, what if you have an accompaniment?
Oh yeah, so honey can still go, because the accompaniment would typically be sweet. So it would do the job.
Okay, yeah. So honey goes.
Yeah.
So would you rather have tea with 6 sugars or a tea that is extremely milky?
This is horrible, because
you don't like either.
I don't like milk in my tea. There was a time though that one of my colleagues, she has a lot of milk tea, so I got curious and tried it. And I know, like, when it's a certain level of creamy, it can be nice, but if it's extremely milky, you might as well just be drinking milk. And if it's extremely sugary, this is horrible. Maybe the milk.
The milk.
Maybe the extremely milky tea, because just the thought. None, but fine. Let's go with milk. Whatever.
Okay. So, would you rather have
sweet
tea for life or never have to drink a bad cuppa in your life? Which one do you go for?
Let's do never drink a bad cup.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I'll work hard. I'll buy the tea.
Yes,
I'll buy the good tea.
That's a good
especially
answer.
now that because the thing is, I get what, until you've tasted good, you don't even know that bad is bad. For the longest time, I didn't know bad was bad. That's why I drink, even right now, someone who is a more seasoned tea person, wherever they are, might go on my platform and think, oh my God, she's drinking horrible tea. But until I know, I don't know. So I'll buy the good tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one, I will. We
Yeah,
already
someone.
know that. Only be able to drink tea once a month, or
Of
have to
course,
drink.
I'm already doing,
You're already
I'm already
doing
doing the
that.
other one, so it's
In my
fine.
mind, when I was creating this, I was like, she cannot be exceeding eight cups in a day.
Oh,
Ah,
no,
you're
it's
in
quite
9.
hard. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So would you rather give up tea forever or give up biscuits forever?
I'll give up biscuits. It's fine.
You're a
I'll give
sweet
up the
tooth.
biscuits. Yeah, but like there's other ways to get sweet stuff. What
Oh,
are three things
finally.
you wish everyone knew about tea? Oh
Yeah.
God. Well, I wish that they knew that it's a very fun and diverse beverage that you can have on so many different occasions, under so many different moments, um, and that it's a very comforting beverage to have as well. So I love that about tea. I wish that everyone, including myself, even as I keep saying that I'm still learning, but I wish that everyone knew the the value and the quality of tea, and wouldn't just bypass it, um, so that they can learn how to seek out better. Because I think demand supply rules, the more you ask for something, you're going to get it more and more. And maybe that's why we're seeing more orthodox brands also coming up, because people are starting to realize what's good for them, what's not, or what's good tea, what's not. So I wish that more and more people would take their time out and actually explore and try and taste and find um, the better quality teas and things like that. And then what else? Um, Gosh, it's a bad thing. I wish that everyone just knew that, you know, it's it's for you. Like you don't need to be a certain way. Earlier in the call when I was describing how what I've come to see a lot when I started creating content on tea was always these images that are of this Zen situations, and maybe sometimes you don't see yourself fitting in it. In our context here in Kenya, tea is you think of an elderly mother, who has gone to a meeting with her fellow mothers and they're just sitting around covered in blankets drinking tea. No, tea is for all of you in whichever shapes, forms, and elements of life that you're in. So yeah, that it's inclusive basically. Yeah.
Oh, wow. What a fun session. Thank you so much, Eva. That is
Thank
pretty
you.
much it from my end. I'm
Okay.
going to stop sharing now. Do you have any
Mhm.
question or comment before we close this?
I don't think I have a question, but I will say thank you to you and your team for organizing and hosting this. It's been, I think this is my first interview. I don't know what to call it, an interview, and to be called out as T-Trap. So that's special to me. So thank you for hosting me. I wish you all the best as you carry on with Africa TV. I hope to see it grow more and more. And I look forward to seeing, as I told you, I think I've not managed to hit some of your um, exact times of streaming because of work, but you're having it all on your YouTube, so it's a good breakfast show for me. So well done to you guys. I think you're very bold to be taking it on as you are. And all the best. I hope to see this platform for you guys grow as well. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. People are so
And I
happy.
thank you
This
for
was
having
such an.
again.
Can you
Wait,
hear
is it
me?
just me? Okay.
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Essentially, I was actually
Yes, I
just
can hear
closing
you.
it
I can
up.
hear you.
Oh, great.
Mhm.
I wanted
You're
to
good.
close it up and say thank you so much. Yeah, I think I'm lagging, so I'll just continue. and say thank you so much for coming. This was so much fun. I enjoyed talking to you.
Okay.
And your answers were so comprehensive. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you, thank you. And so this is the end of the call. And
Thank you. And thank you to everyone who joined.
Yeah. We'll now meet you at the virtual tea party on Friday. Everyone who is here, please join us Friday at 6:30. We'll have a tea party. See you then.
See you. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
How do I leave?